Aloha, nerds, and welcome to the final episode of Why It's Great Gut Reaction. If you've been watching and subscribing, thank you very much. I appreciate you. But this will be the last episode of this show. Now, if you enjoy watching this, which I hope you do, don't worry, because Gut Reaction will be evolving and breaking up into Why It's Great movies and Why It's Great television. So, if you want more of this, I'm just going to be making it a little bit easier to both for people who don't watch this show, just to be able to stumble on it and know exactly what the show is based on the title. A little advice from a friend who talked to me a year ago when I told him what the name of my show was, and he was like, "What's a Vasalawag? What's Gut Reaction? What does it mean? I don't think this is already. I don't know what you're doing." And so I get it. You know what I mean? I get it. It took a minute for it to sink in. It also took me a while to really figure out. I wasn't even sure if I'm going to continue doing this. So I've decided to trudge on, but just let the show evolve. So this is going to be the last episode, and I hope you'll continue to be a subscriber into the next phase of this show, where Why It's Great movies #1 will be Batman Returns. I'm very excited to talk about that. And you'll be seeing some stuff in the first few episodes that was originally supposed to be a gut reaction, and I'm just slapping on an intro. But after that, you'll be seeing it'll just be officially movies and television, and maybe we'll find out I might do trailers as well. So anyway, that being said, let's get on to today's review. I'm talking about The Monkey.
Gut reaction.
Today I just came back from seeing The Monkey, starring Tay James. I'm not sure how to say his name. He was the lead actor in The Gentleman television show by Guy Ritchie. If you have not seen that, that's an excellent watch. I highly recommend it. But let's talk about The Monkey. I'm going to do a little spoiler-free reaction for you guys. This movie, for me, was a party. And it's a bit of a surprise. So if you like surprises, don't even watch this. Go watch the movie. I think you'll have a kick. But if you don't necessarily like surprises, if you kind of don't want to know what you're in for before you spend your money on this ticket, I'm going to tell you right now. I know if you've seen the trailer for The Monkey, you're expecting just kind of a balls out, gory, scary, intense movie. That's totally what this movie looks like. Actually, the movie's more of a black comedy. I would compare this movie to being more like the English version of Death at a Funeral, which, it's a bit more dry. It's a bit more stilted, I guess you could say, than I love the black version done by Chris Rock. I think that, to me, is a great comedy. But, if you like Death at a Funeral, the English version, and if you like Final Destination, and you've always wanted them to kind of be the same movie, that's this movie. It's kind of a dark comedy done in the made in the way of Death at a Funeral, but at the same time utilizing sort of Final Destination techniques, or perhaps more Mousetrap. Maybe it's more Death at a Funeral, the English version, mixed with Mousetrap. It's a little bit of that. So yeah, if that sounds appealing to you, you're gonna have a good time. So I'm just letting you know up front, that's kind of the movie you're walking into. Tatiana Maslany is in this. I thought she was really great as She-Hulk. I did review the first episode. I loved the first episode. I loved the Daredevil episode. I thought she was a great fit for the role, even though I didn't necessarily love the whole show. It had stuff that was worth mentioning as good, and I thought she was definitely standout good. Great comic energy. In this movie, She plays the mom of the young version of our characters, and the lines in this movie are so odd, and just an interesting attitude. The comic nature of the trailer is actually the voice of this movie, and there's just going to be so much odd dialogue and dialogue like, oh, that's not what you're supposed to say. You know what I mean? It's this movie is a very coy, very it's funny if you think about it, or if it's funny if you don't mind some messed up uh subtle-ish humor. Yeah, I think what this movie needs is a Monty Python sequel, is what it really needs. It needs a Monty Python level sequel where the bunny is attacking the knights, you know what I mean? But anyway, I personally had a great time. Tatiana Maslany, Teo James, they were great. The way that, to me, the way the story unfolds, it's a real story focused type of movie where we're kind of dealing with the characters, but I think especially when we reach the second half and there's the reveal of we start off with the younger version of Teo James and his brother meeting the monkey and experiencing its violence, and then when we grow up they're separated. We don't see his brother for the first half of the movie, and then we see him in the second half. And once that appears, the joke that this movie is becomes more fleshed out as wow, this movie is, it is a big gag. It's a big gag. It's a bit of a gag on the audience, and it's a bit of a gag on itself. But that to me is what I enjoyed about the flick. So, you know, without spoiling too much, I think all the death gags are great. I think the best one is actually in the beginning, not in the very beginning, but the best one happens. It's sort of what starts the journey of our adult Teo James, and it is the gag you see in the trailer with the flaming head. That one is definitely the best one, and I think I'll just say up front what the movie needed. It did need one legitimate horror sequence. I think that would have helped. I think at least help my friend enjoy it. But I think I would have liked to see it just a little bit more. But other than that, for me, I thought, especially when we get to the final scene of the movie, I think the final two scenes of this movie are the full expression of the dark comedy that this movie is, where it's just so dry. A joke is being said. It's not laugh out loud, but once you kind of let it linger, you go, ha, ha, that's pretty funny if you really think about it. You know what I mean? So I just, yeah, spoiler free as I can get. I had a good ride for this movie. And like I said, if you like the English version of Death of Funeral and Final Destination, I think you're going to have a good little party. It's just a nice little movie. It's actually not as intense as it promises in the trailer. But to me, that was a nice surprise because horror is not really my genre. Much more horror comedy like Evil Dead. That's fine with me. Superheroes, that's more my thing. But so I was happy to watch a horror movie that wasn't a horror movie. And let me tell you, Elijah Wood pops up in this movie, and I'll get into the spoilers about something I wish happened in this movie for sure. But Elijah Wood pops up in this movie, and it is a great scene. It's definitely one of those scenes that lets you know that this movie's a fucking comedy. But anyway, so as spoiler free as I can get, that's what I can say. I think all the gags are good. Lots of good setups and payoffs. Good little story about brothers dealing with their childhood toy that causes them so much trauma. And yeah, and I liked the tone, the vibe, and I definitely liked the ending. So, but that's just me. I am the guy who likes Tusk and thinks Tusk is a legitimate, high quality picture, even if Kevin Smith doesn't think so. I'm gonna explain that someday. But that being said, if you are into that kind of style of movie, I think you're gonna have a great time. If you like that sort of wry humor, I think you're gonna have a really good time. But if you're just expecting horror, or if you're just looking for straightforward horror, maybe wait till this one comes out on streaming. But if you like that dry humor, you better go out and catch this in theaters, because definitely for me, I felt the intensity in the first third of this movie. I was like, before the comedy really sort of starts revealing itself and it's more straightforward, I enjoyed that actually. So I think it's worth it to get the full palette that this movie has to offer. But that's just me. I'm the weirdo who doesn't even have a podcast title that makes sense. So go check it out, and I'll see you in the spoilers. Okay, here's the spoilers for The Monkey, my little spoiler review. I gotta say, right up front, I love that we have the actor. I think he's from Severance. I think I saw him in Ghosted. He's in a bunch of different things. But right up front, he's bringing the monkey to the pawn shop, and he's trying to get rid of it, and the dealer doesn't want to take it, and then he's like, well, look, the arm is still stuck up. And then the arm goes down, and then we have this whole thread where this rat is chewing on a rope, and the rope snaps, and this iron suit posed thing drops its arm, and it's holding a loaded harpoon gun, fires the harpoon gun at the owner of the shop, and then there's also a retract button on this thing, and his whole intestines get yanked out. The dryness of the humor of this opening, I was into. I was like, I'm shocked, I'm awed, but also, why is there's no blood, but why does this kind of feel like a joke? Why does this feel like I've walked into a joke movie? And then the moment I've had that thought, this the guy from Severance sees on the wall a flamethrower and tries to set the monkey on fire, and there's such a funny, like, Inglorious Bastards feel about this moment. I just thought, okay, we're in for a ride, and it's not exactly the ride we're expecting from the trailer. I applaud the trailer for being a mislead in this case. I think it's okay sometimes for the trailer to be misleading, because I really do like to be surprised by the movie. As much as it would have been interesting and maybe traditional to see this as an intense horror, I liked the dry humor of it. I like the fact that the priest comes in, and he seems more like he's the son of the priest, but he's filling in because his father is drunk or something. And he's like, death, it has meaning, I guess, and stuff. And he's just so awkward. It's what's in the trailer, and then there's more dialogue. It's just so horrible. And you see it on Tatiana Maslany's face. She's just like, why? Why are you allowed? Why are you allowed to speak right now? And then she herself gives the worst speech to her sons about, life, death, and the uncertainty of it all. Literally her line of, like, some people go out peacefully, and some people go out strangled in the neck in the back of an alley. You know what I mean? It was just like, wow. So, but I love the flaming head gag. I do think that was the best gag. I don't think they topped it, because first, she gets caught by the hooks. It's the aunt character. She gets caught by the hooks. Face gets caught on fire. Then she hobbles down the stairs and gets her foot caught in a vase. Which I'm like, is this Looney Tunes? Is this slapstick? And then she runs her own eye into that thing. I was like, okay, this is a joke. This is a joke, because it's horrible, and yet it's framed like a comedy, and it even freeze frames just so the voiceover can go, oh, okay. And I love that the voiceover is kind of a big setup, because we get this long voiceover. I'm kind of like, we don't really need the voiceover over the beginning of this movie, where he's talking about growing up with his twin brother and being bullied by the kids and all that stuff, and that's all fine and good. But then when we get to him as an adult, and the story switches to seeing what his twin brother has been up to, and he's like obsessed with the monkey because as kids, it is our main character who wears glasses, so we know it's him. It is our main character who turns the key of the monkey, which activates its performance, and when it performs, horrible, terrible things happen. And so when when he does that, unfortunately, his mom passes. So it's that's a sad moment. It's a real sad moment when the older brother who bullies him throughout the whole first 20 minutes of the movie is like, okay, they're at the funeral scene again with the stoned priest, and the older brother has been bullying his younger brother the whole first 20 minutes. He's just looking at his mom like, okay, the joke's over. You can stop kidding now, mom. And everyone is just so hit by like, oh, this kid really, he needs his mother. And it does kind of hit home. This is kind of unfortunately an issue that's hit home for someone I care about very much recently. But nonetheless, for me, outside of that, because I did feel like at the very least, what the movie took seriously was this movie is kind of about loss. It is about how loss, it's just sudden and it happens and there's nothing you can really do about it, and kind of how it affects people in these kind of different ways. Where in the case of these brothers, especially because they feel responsible for playing with that monkey, you see the one brother tries to have a life but can't. He's just too afraid. And they talk about how he's a coward, but they don't really get into it very much. And then the other brother, who actually the bully, ends up being twice as afraid, becomes this hermit, and for some reason sets up all these horrible booby traps around this hotel that he bought. I'm like, man, did you watch Squid Game just before you made this? I don't know. But yeah, so all this stuff is happening, but I like the storytelling of it. But my favorite thing is seeing the older brother. I love that when we get his voiceover, and he's just such a different character, and he's looking for the monkey. He wants to get his revenge, and then there's a line in the beginning of the movie after the mom dies where the older brother won't get out of his tux because he says, already the monkey killed their babysitter, but then he says, if I get out of this suit, I'm gonna have to put it on again, and but I don't want to have to put it on again, so maybe if I keep the suit on, I won't have to put it on again. And then in the twisted way this movie goes, in his reveal storyline, which feels like such a comic book, you know what I mean? We're getting this visual story. And again, does it really need the voiceover? No, but it does, to me, amplify the humor of it all. Where he's just talking about how he found his purpose in trying to find the monkey. He obsessed over the monkey, and then he went and got his old suit from being a kid and then modified it so he could wear it as an adult. And I was just like, what? And he just looks like such an ass, you know what I mean? He just looks like such a dork. And I just thought that was great. I really thought that's hilarious. Again, there's a couple moments in this movie where there's only two other people in the audience, but we laughed at different times in the movie. But I thought I just got a kick out of so many things in this movie. There was just, what the hell? Why did this happen? It's just that kind of movie. But I just liked that vibe. But I really love the ending. My favorite thing is the ending when, Teo James's twin brother is trying to get his son to kill him by twisting the key on the back of the monkey, and it doesn't work. And then he himself tries to force the monkey to tap the drum, and the monkey actually fights him. So it was kind of interesting. I was like, ooh, even the monkey doesn't want this to happen. But then he manages to get the monkey's arm jammed up, and then the monkey is broken for a minute, and then suddenly starts tapping really fast. and we hear the ground rumble, and all of a sudden there's the sound of explosions outside, and it's literally they've caused the apocalypse at the very least for the small town. And this is actually where we get a lot of our horrific trailer shots. And in that too, I think the trailer shot in particular that not that I was looking forward to it necessarily, but the one I thought would be one of those intense scenes in the movie was you're inside the car and the camera is watching as this mom is screaming, running around as the baby is on fire inside the stroller, and it's a real terrifying image in the trailer, but oddly in the finale as part of this montage of death, it is just part of it is just this dreary thing that you're experiencing. You're not horrified, it's still horrible, but you're just kind of like in the experience of like, oh my god, like there's so much horror out there. And so I've got no analysis on the deeper meanings of this movie, but I just thought I really love the image when they stop at the crossing and literally the pale horse arrives with its rider, and the pale horse's death. And it's a line set up twice in this movie where in the introduction of adult Theo Vaughn with glasses, he's trying to explain to his son why people don't like him, and he's like, well, it's because I'm kind of like crazy talking all the time, and I'm like the rider on the white horse, bringing death everywhere. And he doesn't really explain what his problem is, but it does seem like perhaps people have died around him, we don't know, or he in some way is just so fixated on what experiences he had. I would have really liked the veil to be lifted. I would really have loved to see just a little bit more. We're like, what happened to you in the intervening years? I mean, the fact that we got the story of you as kids, I thought was engaging. And I think the movie could have really been improved by a couple things where I really would have not improved. I enjoyed the movie all the way through, but I would have loved to have a little bit more. I think if I could ask for it from the filmmakers, I would say, hey, can we see just a little, at least a visual montage of what happened to him, watch him grow up and get his girlfriend pregnant or his wife pregnant, see what exactly is that he was like, or how he went through his life that led him to the point where Elijah Wood has replaced him. You know what I mean? And let me give the small clap to Elijah Wood. I love Elijah Wood. I'm glad that he shows up in these movies. I know I saw him in something else that was horror comedy, but if you have not seen Cooties and you like zombies, you got to check out Cooties. It's got Elijah Wood. He's a school teacher. There's the actress in there she's in Snowpiercer as the school teacher, and I believe she's in Star Trek Discovery, but I haven't watched that show. I've just seen some clips. But I gotta say, like, oh, and I'm forgetting Rainn Wilson. I think Rainn Wilson is in that movie too. Cooties is about school teachers trapped in a school where only people who haven't had chicken pox yet get infected by the zombie virus. So it's a real legit zombie movie, but it's again another one of these dark comedies where it's kind of funny because it's little kid zombies. But I think this movie could have taken a page from Cooties, where I do wish it had just one more signature, violent, crazy final destination sequence, like what happened to the aunt with the head getting on fire and then her foot goes into a pot, but if they just did that to another character and it was just something that was equally slapstick crazy but also just so, I think it needed one scene that just pushed the absolute limit. That would have been nice to see, and I think that might have won my friend over. we really need to see if you're going to set up the intricate nature of this thing as you do with the pawn shop or the weapons shop, whatever it is, and with the aunt. I think it really would have been nice to see one scene that just took it to another level. But all that being said, I don't really need these things. I enjoyed the movie, and those are my favorite parts of it. I love seeing Teo James as both brothers, and although his older brother version was such an asshat, I was just thoroughly entertained. Yeah, so that's just my favorite bits from the movie. I really like that it takes the time to tell its story, but also its story is completely ludicrous and goofy, but in an understated way. I just enjoyed those qualities of this movie. So that's what I got to say. Not that much for the monkey. If you haven't seen it and for some reason you sat through the spoilers, I hope I don't ruin it for you. But at the end of the day, there's a reason I don't refer to Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb. I don't look at any of that stuff. If I want to see a movie, I go see it. You know what I mean? And this may not be my genre, the horror genre, but it did look interesting to me. So this is the one I was like, okay, if we're going to go to the movies, let's see this movie. So that's what I got to say. I thought it was really good. I look forward to finding out more about the movie. I'm going to look into interviews and stuff at some point. I'm sure there's more depth to it than what I've described, but I just really liked the construction of this comedy, and in particular the way that the voiceover narration for the one brother becomes the setup for the voiceover narration of the other brother, and his everything that happens with him. I love that we have the one character whose hair covers his eyes, and it seems like he's also a twin, or at least he has a brother, and he's just trying to get the monkey. But I love just the fact that he exists. He looks kind of like the dog. He kind of looks like both characters from the 90s, the banger head characters who sometimes have hair over their eyes, but also kind of reminded me of that dog from Warner Brothers, the Looney Tunes cartoons, where he always has the hair or something over his face, and yet he still sees everything. And so when this dude's running around and he's like waving a gun and all this stuff, yeah, I was just like, this movie, it's not pointing itself out, but at the same time, this movie has an image that's like a cartoon image where it's just literally dude can't see, or it looks like he can't see. You just wonder, how does this dude see? But yeah, so that's my thoughts on the monkey. Those are my favorite parts, and I do think it's well constructed overall, well produced, well edited, really tightly cut, and yeah, and again, I like the performances. I like the dry comedy angle. So those are my thoughts on the monkey. If you've seen it, I hope you enjoy it too. If you've seen it, please let me know what your favorite. If you've seen it and you like it, please let me know your favorite scene. And if you don't like it, I'm sorry. I aim to please, but it's not my movie. I'm just saying, I'm the guy who likes Tusk. Nobody on Earth likes Tusk. I'm the guy who likes Eternals. Nobody on Earth likes Eternals. So, that's my taste. I'm a little bit of a weirdo and an outsider myself, but I did get a kick out of this movie, and that's it for Why It's Great Gut Reaction. And I very much hope you've enjoyed this, and if you want more, please like and subscribe. There will be more under the new titles, Why It's Great Movies and Why It's Great Television. And if you're into toy collection at all, you see I'm a nerd. I always have movie posters and toys behind me. If you're into that sort of thing, I have another channel called Why It's Great Toys. On that channel, I have a podcast, Why It's Great Toys, where I do unboxings and I do custom toys, where I custom paint figures. And I also have the podcast, which my new episode should have either be coming out or coming out soon. The Toy Podcast for Schmucks, where I show my work on dioramas and just me playing with toys and stuff. So that's what I got. That's all the news I have for you. Thank you very much if you've subscribed and been watching so far. I appreciate you, and hopefully see you on the next podcast. May the force be with you. Live long and prosper. Zang!